Hi everyone. So I've been doing a little bit of moderating of a deck tonight, and I wanted to try trimming a deck. And I've done edging, and I've done kind of corner trimming and stuff like that on other decks that I've got, but I haven't actually done like a real trim. And so I got myself the Druidcraft deck because I've been kind of really thinking about getting it for a while. And so I thought that would be a good one to do it with, because there's loads of ways you can trim. So you could just take off the white and have like the stone border, or you could take off all of the stone border and just leave the panel on at the bottom, which is what I've chosen to do. I'll show you that one that I've done already. I feel like Blue Peter. So that's what I've done. Or you could take off the bottom bit of stone as well and just have the banner. Or you could take off all of the stone and have it completely bare. So I've done like a time lapse that I'm going to try and put into this video. But I just thought I'd save the kings and do the kings last at normal speed, so you can kind of see what I did. So I kind of just trimmed up this side, and I haven't got a guillotine. But I've got these really massive scissors, which does make it easier if you've got like a big trim to do, because you can just do it in one cut if you've got to get across the top. The sides are too long to do it in one go, but it does make it a bit easier if you've got a really big pair of scissors. So yeah, and then I just trimmed off the bottom and decided to leave the banners on. I might chop them off another time, but I'm not sure. I think I'll probably keep them on. If I was going to trim them all off, I might get a brand new deck to do that with. The reason I decided to do it with this Druidcraft is, like I say, there are other options of how to trim it. You don't have to just trim everything off. You can leave some bits on. So the reason I chose to do it with that was one of the reasons. And the other reason was it's actually a very, very easy to get hold of and not expensive. So I think I paid something like £13.50 for this deck. So I just thought, you know what, if that's a disaster and I make a real mess of it and I hate it when it's done, it won't be the end of the world if I have to buy another one. And I just bought the deck on its own it comes with a little book, but without the big book. I do think if I bought it again, I would buy with the big book, because I've heard that the book is really, really good. So I kind of feel a bit miffed with myself that I didn't buy it with the book, buy it with the book as well. So see, these are the bits that are quite difficult sometimes, when you just like go a little bit wonky and you leave a little bit of the, see, like that's going to have left a little bit on, and then you have to try and trim the teeny bit off, and the teeny bits are difficult to get to, but you can do it if you're patient. And I'm an Aries, so you know what, not very patient. So I'm quite amazed with myself so far that I've managed to sit and do this whole deck in one sitting without getting really frustrated and fed up with it. So yeah, I'm going to just trim off this last one, the King of Pentacles. Put him here like that. And then what I'll probably do is I'll insert the time lapse at the end of this video, because I'm not quite sure how to do that. Maybe that I can't work out how to insert the time lapse at all, but I'll do my best. I'm not very good with editing video. Well, I was really good at editing video when Windows Movie Maker was still working. That worked great for me. But now it's cancelled and they don't update it, and you have to do it on pictures and I don't know. It's just pants now. So that's my King of Pentacles. That's the Kings all trimmed. So it doesn't really take very long. And this is what I'm left with so far in terms of my deck. So I'm quite pleased with it. It's not too bad. It's not perfect, but I wasn't expecting it to be really as a first go. So I'm going to do the corners and then I'm going to edge it probably in like, I've got like a sort of ochre bronzy sort of colour, which I thought might go quite nicely with the back. So you can see like the backs do get a bit chipped when you trim with scissors. But it's not too disastrous. I'm not too unhappy with it. So I quite like it. So that's as far as I've got so far. So I'll try to put in the time lapse now. I'm not sure if I'll be able to insert it and say something afterwards. So if I can't, please do give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you like this kind of thing. If you like this kind of thing, I'll happily moderate some other decks and do time lapses and try and show you what I do, if you'd like to see that. I will edge this. What I might try and do is do the edging and the corner chopping and do that on time lapse as well. And then I don't know if I'll be able to insert it on this. I might have to do that as a separate video, but I don't know how that might pan out. As you can tell, it's all a bit of an adventure. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. If I can't add the thank you on at the end, I'll say it now. And I'll speak to you all soon. Bye for now. Hi, so this is Jane here again, just showing you the rest of what I'm doing with my Druidcraft deck. So I'll put the time lapse in as long as I've worked out how to do it, but I'm just kind of now doing the corners. To get the corner cutter, you need to make sure that you push it right in to the corner. This is actually quite therapeutic, I find. It's just, you can just sit and think about nothing and be doing nothing really other than cutting your corners off of some cards. Sometimes you have to jiggle it a little bit to get it in there, but usually it's pretty easy. Okay. And just push them right in. And then, of course, you're left with a load of little itty bits to come off. So get rid of those over there for now, because I just want to show you what I'm going to do with the edging. Now, I have got somewhere an ink pad that I was going to use, but I can't find it. I can't lay my hands on it at the moment. So I've got a pen instead. So this is a Pro Marker, a Winsor & Newton Pro Marker. I would use the chisel tip end. And then all I'm going to do, I just say straight up, I'll get a little bit of kitchen roll at the ready so that I can just give them a wipe over. And then what I would do with the main cards is, there's not enough room to show you on this table, is as I do them, I'll do 4 or 5 or 6 at a time and lay them out and let them dry, and then do the next 6 and then do the next 6. Or if, as long as I've got loads of space, I'll do them all at once, but you just have to be, you know, mindful and let them dry. So this is how I do my edges, I just get the pen and run it along the edge a couple of times. I do tend to go over the corners a couple of times as well. And don't worry if you've been a bit sort of cack-handed, because you can just wipe it off. Especially this deck, this is quite a shiny deck. So, you know, I just get mine and literally just wipe over it so that it's not bleeding off too badly. And you can't really see it on just one card. But that's what they look like. And it's just quite a therapeutic little task, really. You can just sit and colour in the edges of your cards. But honestly, don't freak out too much about doing it, because you can, you know, if you do get it over onto the fronts, you just wipe them off, then they don't sort of go too crazily with the bleeding. See, this is bleeding, this one, a bit. If it does that, just give it a wipe. It's never going to be perfect, I think. Some cards bleed a lot and some don't. It doesn't bother me too much because I quite like it to be all antique-y. So that one's, I think that one's bleeding quite a bit. But let's have a look and see what the rest go. That's what I was saying to you, you know, if you get a deck that is quite cheap or inexpensive like this one, if it looks awful and you just really hate it, you can just replace it. I only paid like £13.50 for this deck, so if it is a disaster, then it is a disaster and just have to either live with it or replace it. But I do think this is going to bleed a little bit. I'm quite surprised actually, because it's what's the word for it? It's a shiny deck, so you would have thought you'd just be able to wipe it clean. But I think where it's been trimmed, that shine has come off it. So they are going to bleed, these, and we just have to live with it. But it's okay. I don't mind that, because it doesn't bother me that it's bleeding. Because like I say, I quite like that kind of antique-y sort of look to the cards. But what I would say to you, I mean, these are good pens. They don't normally bleed. What I would say to you is, if bleeding bothers you, don't trim and edge this deck, because it's gonna bleed. And if you really don't like it, you will ruin it. In your head, it will be ruined, because this is a lot more bleed than I was expecting. I don't care, because I quite like that. The way that they look, a bit sort of antique-y around the edges, really not bothering me at all. But yeah, you may not like that. So, you know, here's my experiment. For me, that's going to be okay. I don't mind that at all. But if you don't like the idea of it bleeding, I'll show you one of the other cards next to it so you can see. Actually, let me use a lighter coloured one. There, you can see that it's going to do that. If you don't like that, then I would suggest not trimming and edging this deck, because that's how it's going to go. but I quite like it. I'm quite enjoying the whole antiquified look. So that's how I do it. If I do manage to get the time lapse and everything sorted out, I'll drop it in here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now. Hi, so that is my video on how I trimmed and cornered and edged the Druidcraft deck. This is the finished article. I might go over the edges one more time just to so they're all a bit more even, because you can see some are a little bit lighter than others. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. So that's the edges. The deck now looks like this. As you can see, there is definitely some bleed on the cards. There definitely is, especially on these lighter colours. You can, sorry, out of the camera. On these lighter colours, you can see that there is a bit of bleed. So that is going to bother you. I would say don't edge this deck, or maybe edge it, but don't trim it. The thing is, when you trim paper or card, you are going to rough up the edges. And where they put the sealer on, or the varnish that makes the card shiny, that kind of goes right to the edge with the cards. But if you then start to trim away from what would be the standard edge, you're going to leave it slightly rough along the edge. There's nothing much you can do about that. You might be better with a guillotine. That might make it less. But I would tread cautiously if you do decide to trim and edge this deck. If the level of bleed that we're getting on these cards is going to bother you, I would seriously say don't do it. But I quite like it. You know, I quite like it. So like I say, I don't mind the bleed too much, because I kind of feel like it's it gives it a more sort of oldie aged, sort of antique-y kind of feel to it. But as you can see on the bottom of here as well, I've just not quite trimmed off enough on the bottom to get rid of that bottom line. That doesn't really bother me that much either, to be honest. I'm not a perfectionist when it comes to things like this. If you are, that would probably bother you. So, you know, just the answer to that is trim the front, and then just turn it over and just double check that you've trimmed that away. And then if you haven't, just trim it away. But I kind of did it with the front facing, because I wanted to make sure that it didn't cut the words off and all of that. So you have to kind of just work out, be slow and cautious with what you're doing. I really like how it's turned out. In fact, what I may do, I'm going to have a think about it and decide. What I might do is get an antiquing ink or something and like really antique the whole card up. But to do that, I think I would have to get a sandpaper or a glass paper and sort of scrub off some of this some of the shine, so that then the antiquing ink would take, because I think if I just use the antique ink, it may well just wipe off, which is not going to be ideal. Or I may just use it as it is. There's a bit of me that really thinks maybe I'll just really bash it up so it looks ancient. But I don't know really how to do that. So I'm going to have a root through on YouTube and see if I can find out how that would be best done. And see if I fancy doing that. But there's a bit of me that just wants to leave it as it is for now. But I'm really pleased with it. Hope it's helped you a little bit. So you can see, you know, if you were thinking about doing this, it's given you a little bit of an idea. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll speak to you all again soon. If you wouldn't mind giving the video a thumbs up, a like, a share, a subscribe, that would be fantastic as well. It really does help the channel, and helps me to sort of work out what you guys like as well. Also, please do put a comment down below. I'm really happy when people put a comment down and I can interact with people. I love doing that. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.